So hello everybody. Thank you very, very much for being here till the very, very end. Here with me is Miha from Decode project and representing Bach Society, my kindly producer. So what we decided to do is that he will give an overview of what the Decode project is, what is Bach's mission within the Decode project, and then I will interject with funny remarks, hopefully.
Decode is a European Horizon 2020 project, mostly engaged, is engaging everything from municipalities from Amsterdam, Barcelona, to some research institutions, to tech partners, to, let's say, Bach Society that is actually more engaged in the, what we call research together with public, so with citizens, with those that are really the users and influenced by the contemporary technologies. Project Decode is really involved into the concerns we people have with this contemporary use of internet, mainly the concerns of privacy and security, of loss of ability of control of our data on the internet. Mostly this data is used and accumulated by corporations that don't allow you to select and to operate and use, control the particular use of the data as such. So we totally lose this ability. But at the same time, we as citizens are totally, looking for new solutions for ourselves, for our communities, but not being able to use this data. So Project Decode is looking for a technical solution for solutions in ecosystem of data on the internet, and is going to pilot how we as individuals, as citizens, can stay in control and how we can use this to not just use the internet as such, but also to build our own solutions in relation to everything what we need in our cities, in our personal lives, in our being more engaged citizens as such. And in this context, of course, when we approach engaged citizens, of course, artists are, I won't say the most engaged, but we are looking to be really the most engaged. So really in favor of a bit more activistic approach, something that we cannot do it ourselves as institutions, but artists can. So that's why we would like to see how the data strike would look like.
Yeah, we all would like to see how that works. Well, so when I was preparing for, thank you, Miha, and thank you for all the support so far. So when I was a huge fan of Decode way before the Vertigo STARTS Residency call was out, and then when I saw Bach putting out the call, I said, this is it. This can be a really very interesting project to test and investigate an idea from about 6-7 years ago that came in the wake of Snowden revelations. I mean, the people in our field, in the field of media arts and kind of who are critically exploring new technologies and thinking about whether or not there's ethical framework in there, we could, in the last 20+ years, we could solidly guarantee that every digital device is logging everything we do all the time. Yeah, and then with the rise of Web 2.0, not only that the digital devices have been logging everything, but we were invited to generate all of our personal data and contribute to these wonderful platforms for socialization. Little did we know. Well, some of us did, but you know. Anyway, So what happened after the Snowden revelations, we set together a couple of artists, activists, and academics and said, listen, this is just unsustainable. We have to think of a way for collective organizing and maybe using a practice and the concept of trade unions and see whether this translates in any kind of decent or usable way when we think about personal data. So, Decode project, oh, I'm talking on and on and on, so what do I, yeah. Ta-da. So, we then thought about data strike, and for a longest time, we couldn't really quite agree on what does this mean. Does this mean a real direct action? Does this mean a theoretical kind of philosophical conversation or a paper? Or an artwork. And then when I saw what Dyn.org, one of the partners in Decode project, have been proposing, and also what one of the leaders of the project, Francesca Bria, has been proposing out there, I thought this is it. We have to come together as birds of a feather and discuss what else can be done, because they are inside the project, they are proposing some rather radical engagement with technology when it comes to cities, when it comes to personal data, when it comes to IoT, which is at the moment really heavily like a corporate production and corporate reach in the field of each and every gadget that will live in our lives soon. So all of these things have been opening a whole can of worms. What do we do? How do we defend ourselves? Do we consider this a property or not? And so on and so forth. And so when I started working on the project, I spent the first few months, as majority of artists here, really only studying the technology and trying to think about what union organizing can mean and how, in this context. Does it mean anything? Does the whole question of free labor that we are grappling with, does this make any sense? Does this offer any sort of useful pathway for investigation? Then I started thinking about maybe using a software development methodologies can be a way to investigate what is going on and where are the connections between the data union idea and what Decode people have been generating, and they're generating a mountain of papers and a mountain of code at the same time. So it's a lot to study. And so what I decided after a while of study, I decided I will try and use example mapping, which is a software development methodology that I borrow from kind of its agile adjacent or it's agile situated, and I'm kind of subverting it instead of being used as a exclusively user experience for functionality kind of focus, to use it as a user experience or a design methodology for emancipation, so that we collectively get together and discuss all of these opaque or proprietary systems which are not allowing us to engage as a collective, not even as an individual. I want to say that we have concluded so far the first stage of workshops, which helped me after months and months of studying the code and studying the findings, the legal, the economic, the technical, the political, all of the different levels of the complexity that you need to deal with when you're thinking about personal data. I am now moving on to the next stage, and I will be using pseudocode on the 25th of April in Amsterdam. Whoever is in Amsterdam or around, feel invited. And I just wanna give a shout out to Dine's new release, Zen Room and Zen Code, which we'll be exploring, which is a human language for smart contracts. So we will be talking about whether or not blockchain may have a positive contribution in the time is ending. Sorry, not my time. Sorry. It's not the end of the world yet. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.